everyone, welcome to my new video. How is everybody doing? How has summer been for you? Here in Germany, summer has not been as great as the past few years, at least. It's been very rainy, unusually rainy, but considering the fact that other people are suffering from floods and extremely high temperatures and fires and things like that, I am not complaining. It just gives us more time to be inside and draw, I guess. So we did go on, sort of had a vacation last week. My husband and I, it was a mix between a vacation and a staycation because we were at home but taking day trips to places nearby, which was a lot of fun because we are new to this town and region, so there are a lot of things that we haven't seen yet and there's a lot of sightseeing to do, and we did not want to travel very far. One of the reasons is that we have a cat and we have not found a suitable cat sitter yet. And just for other reasons like the pandemic and everything related to that, from apartments and hotels being full to the summer vacation, like school summer vacation, and places being crowded and not wanting to necessarily go when everyone else is going. Anyway, long story short, I did not do any sketching last week, and at first I had intended to do a little bit of sketching during the vacation, but I didn't really have the time for it. And that was okay. It was fine because sometimes you need to take a break. And I didn't really realize I had to take a break, but it was good for me in the end, and now I'm more motivated to start anew. And I'm trying to sketch every day, but as you can see, I wanted this video to just be a drawing video because I wanted to get back into the flow, because even after 1 week of not doing anything, you're kind of intimidated and you don't know where to start. So I wanted to ease into it and just do some drawing. So I drew some cats, but as you can see, this is not really the daily sketching that I should be doing on a regular basis, because this is no real speed drawing or gesture drawing or anything like that. It's a more result-oriented drawing, and that's okay because it's observational drawing and it trains my eyes and hands and muscle memory and things like that. But I also really intend to go back to drawing even or sketching just a little bit every day. And what's funny is that with these YouTube videos, I realized that my sketchbook has taken on a completely different look, because I used to be a very messy sketchbook keeper. And not very regular either, but even as a child when I doodled, it was all very messy, and my sketchbooks were full of ideas really more than finished drawings. And I do tend to write down a lot of notes and things like that, which is great, and you should do that because it means that you're analyzing your work, and it means that you will most likely remember it. Remember what you've learned from writing it down. But now I think it's seeing so many YouTube videos of sketchbook tours that looked so perfect and so finished that I kind of felt self-conscious about my sketchbooks. And that's not a good habit right now. A sketchbook is supposed to be for you, for practice, for learning, and not for showing to anyone. And I am becoming that kind of person who wants nice pictures in their sketchbook, and I'm not sure that's very conducive to my development. So I'm trying to stray away from that, but the solution I found for myself was that I have this neat sketchbook right here where I do more nice stuff, and then I have another one where I take a lot of notes and just jot down ideas and things like that. Probably not ideal. It's probably best to have it all in one place, but I'm working on it and doing my best. I just think it's really interesting how we get so, even on a subconscious level, I didn't even do it consciously, but we are so affected by what we see around us, and we have to remember that with the internet, things that are shown are not real life. Like, it doesn't even, it's the same for beauty standards and things like that. It's a highlight reel, and it's very edited and very curated, and it's not real life, because real life can be messy, and bodies can have cellulite, and you can have a belly, and all of that is normal, and it's healthy to have a messy sketchbook. But I'm kind of going on a tangent here. Anyway, I chose to do cats because, well, first of all, I love cats. Sorry to everyone who's not a cat fanatic, but what's wrong with you? How can you not love cats? No kidding. I chose 3 pictures that were interesting in and of themselves, because I feel that these cats really have character, and there's something, like, they speak to you in some way, so they're not boring photos to begin with. And I also chose 3 very different cats, and I just wanted to see how I treat them differently to get something across. And I realized that I did some things really subconsciously without really, I keep trying to be more mindful about the way I draw and sketch, like make some parts fuzzy and some parts more clear, figure out your shadow shapes, pay attention to contrast. But in the end, I really don't think about it much, because this was supposed to be like a relaxing drawing session, and I was listening to a video, like a podcast at the same time, so my attention was a little bit, like, mentally more to the podcast, and I was just automatically drawing, so to speak. So I realized that I do some things subconsciously without realizing. Like, if you look at the first cat and the second cat, the first one is an orange tabby, but I by myself just made a few areas darker. I end up using more than one pencil, because I start very light with a very light pencil, and just to block the basic forms in, kind of like you're sculpting something really. And then I go darker step by step, because you just never get the proportions 100% right on the first try, so there's always a little bit of adjusting, and I don't like to use my eraser a lot, so I'd rather draw over it with a darker pencil that will kind of conceal what's underneath. And sometimes it just gives for an interesting structure to have another line underneath, even if it's not the correct line, but I don't know, just helps the whole thing come to life, I feel. So I automatically increased the darkness on the first cat in some places, even though it is a very light cat. But sometimes with the like the, what do you call it, the animal print, so to say, the stripes on the fur and things like that, they distract from the shadows when you're drawing, and you forget to add in shadows. So I felt I needed to have more contrast, and I just made some parts darker and left other parts really light, because you just can't do it the same way as when you're painting, when you're just using a pencil. And what I also noticed was that I treated the fur of the first cat a lot differently than the second, because as you can see, the second cat is a short-haired black cat, and I really just used vertical lines to draw the fur in, because it's such a smooth and shiny coat, whereas the first cat had a more fuzzy coat and things like that. So you can see that in the first drawing, I used a lot of like zigzaggy patterns, like zigzaggy shading, I guess, instead of cross hatching. It was a bit more messy, and in the second cat I just used these really straight lines, which makes it look smooth, I guess. And I left some places pretty white. I mean, this is an all black cat, but notice how some places are still very white, and that's where the light reflects, and other places are a bit darker. So sometimes you can play with the way you see things. You don't have to copy it exactly the way it is. And the good thing about cats is when you draw them, you don't have that extreme need to get likeness as you do with people, because our brain is more trained to differentiate facial structures of people than animals. Although I think I'm pretty good at differentiating different cats because I'm such an animal person, but it's probably still more refined when it comes to humans. And that's why pets and animals are a little bit more forgiving, and sometimes it's good not to focus too much on the likeness, but on just getting the whole structure right and placing everything inside of a three-dimensional form and paying attention to shading and things like that. So that's why I feel animals are sometimes a bit easier than people. What I could have done here is probably pay more attention to the water. I could have drawn this in a way that makes it look more shiny and smooth and reflective, but I got a little bit lazy and I moved on to the other tabby cat that is jumping down, which in itself is very dynamic. I probably could and should have made it more dynamic by practicing gesture drawing at first and maybe exaggerating the pose, but in this case I didn't, because it was just like a relaxing session, as I said. So I just copied more or less. What I'm trying to tell you is that sometimes it's okay to just trust your gut feeling and just do it, and it's still practice, and you will see that your brain does a few things that are quite amazing that you're not even aware of. And sometimes it helps just if you don't have anyone to critique you, or you only have family members to critique you and they don't really know much about art or don't really are artistic, aren't really artistic, or they aren't really interested in arts, something like that. You can critique yourself. It's just important that you step away from your stuff for a while, that you compare it to what you did last month and see what you're doing differently now, and just try to compare what you've done to the original photo and see if there's something missing. And then you can copy it first and then see how you can redesign and change your product to look even more impressive, because it's just a different language to speak compared to photography. So yeah, I hope that I will keep up with my drawing habits, because it does, I've talked about this a lot before, but it does take A little bit of discipline sometimes, but as soon as I hold my pencil in my hand and I'm putting down the first lines, it's okay. It's just starting, and it's also, there is a lot of distractions, and I hope that I can still make time and room for art, and I hope that you can too. I thought I didn't know what to say and what to talk about in this video, but I've been talking for 15 minutes straight about nothing substantial, and time is up. So I hope you have a really nice weekend, and I hope to see you next week. And just let me know, how do you feel about vacations and about taking a break from drawing? How do you feel about neat sketchbooks versus messy sketchbooks? I'd like to hear your thoughts, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Take care and stay creative. Bye!